So we're back. Save all scenes again. Let's just close Godot. We've done good progress here. And do you have a repository? What the hell is a repository? You are coming at me with alien language again. Help!
You're not the flailing toddler for nothing.
Yeah, I am the flailing toddler of programming. It's in the description. Why do you bombard me with things? Help! Like, what is a repository? What?
Would be nice to know.
Yeah, probably useful. So, yeah. What is a repository? Tell me. Repository is a very convenient thing. You can make snapshots of your projects, and then you can roll back to any snapshot if you need. That is useful, but it doesn't tell me where I make it and how I make it. It's like, yes, oh, they have new stuff here.
Godot can do that. I think I heard of that.
It can?
I think.
Okay. That's good to know, actually, but, you know what?
But I wouldn't know how.
That is very fair, actually. Is that for Git for repository to... Okay, so I need to search for Git repository tutorials. I might do that. Okay, you know what? I was just like thinking, since I am basically, I just got like the one new plane. How about we just, you know what? I actually try to fly a little bit. Like, that's one of those things. Whoa, why is my head on here? And Blahash. There. So Git repository. I will look for that. Yes. So, but yeah, I mean, this game, I mean, not this game, but like the sequel to this game is one of the reasons I am kind of trying to get into Godot as well. But hey, also I want to make my own games, and honestly, I'm so happy that I have a gun that fires bullets now. I have... I have a, how's it called? I have enemies that die. I have a... Like... Holy shit, you know what this just... You know what this means? Aside from the fact that it switched perspectives to top-down, and I technically only need to do the UI, but, so I once made, like, basically one of, a simple game in Scratch that was basically just, you know, enemies coming from both sides, and, you know, you need to shoot them. It was janky. This one is basically that game top down, and it's almost done, just better. And it's like, I feel good about that, you know?
I guess you could call it a prototype.
Yeah. You know, I just need to maybe add some walls. Then like I can make a small arena fight even.
Mm.
Then I just need to learn how to make stuff that avoids things. You know, that it doesn't, that enemies don't pile up behind walls and you can cheese them. But it's doable. Also, shit, you know what I'm also gonna do next time? I'm making controller inputs. So maybe then we have more than 8 directions to look into.
God, no.
What? It's a twin stick shooter at that point, or it's a single stick shooter basically. But
Do you want to do it more Contra-like or more modern?
Maybe a mix.
Hmm.
Like Contra top down is cool, but it definitely is missing a few things.
Actually, I like it.
I also love that. Like it's so weird that, you know, people are nowadays like, oh look, we make a tribute to Contra. Like it's good.
The control scheme constrictions you have in the top-down Contra levels are in many ways better than a normal twin-stick shooter.
That is fair. That's also why I would suggest like single stick shooter more like.
Ah.
No, fuck it. I can't get into a match. Who cares? And then we just play very normal and very boring. Enjoy. But yeah, that's like a single stick shooter is a bit more interesting because yeah, you can shoot while running backwards. That's
Actually, you can in Contra.
you can? How?
I think you hold the shoulder button.
Ah, fair point.
Like, in Contra you move like this.
Yeah.
So you can shoot forward or you move backward.
It would be so much more interesting to make as a game. I think some people would be like, why are you doing this? This is weird. But like also, that just makes the game more interesting actually.
It makes it especially interesting to deal with enemies from behind.
Yeah.
Our control over Iwo Jima is being threatened by a new mandate assault. The resources we are mining
Like,
here and Archangel's research cannot be
I don't know how to put it in a better way.
If they break
It's
through,
basically,
they will pay for every step they take.
how should I put it in the best way?
Engagement, Lopez. Fight on.
I mean, it is basically just tank controls for top down. That's it. Wow. I didn't wipe a squad. They fell down. Okay, now I was killed. Damn. Ooh, that sounds actually very interesting. Oh, I like where this is going. Because yeah, I do think a lot of games nowadays just kind of make it very easy in terms of how you control it. Like, some friction is always more interesting, you know? I should definitely know that, since I like friction games. Like that's one of those things. Yeah, sure, they can be annoying at times. Don't get me wrong. That is but you need to keep in mind what is a but when it comes in terms of game design, you know, what does an annoyance mean in the grand scheme of things? Because a lot of things can be annoying, but they're kind of essential. Like, for example, we kind of accept the fact that in Resident Evil, for example, if you the moment you were able to shoot and walk and you had no penalty or anything, it just killed the game. Yes, and it's a big thing, it was an annoyance for people because, you know, oh, I can't just, you know, I can't just do two things at once that I can do in other games. But that wasn't the point of the game. What? Perfect. I stopped making game now to talk about game design. This is a good evening. It's a good evening. Okay. Yeah, a lot of games always removed friction, so like, you know, yeah, making it just a twin stick shooter is like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're good twin stick shooters, but yeah, the idea of you have to hold a button to basically enable strafing backwards, that's interesting. That's actually just way more interesting because it gives you for like an extra step in, you know, like, oh hey, how do I handle a situation? Because you can't just walk backwards and just tilt the stick and like that's it. It's no, you're committing to walking backwards now. And that's actually much more interesting. But I mean, I think we can definitely all agree that when it comes to game design, especially designing your own game, you always need to keep in mind what kind of annoyances are good for the game. Because you will always have a certain amount of people that will be annoyed by your mechanics. And crucially, because we live in we live generally in the world we live in, and people feel entitled to stuff. But you know, thanks to social media, this just has become worse and worse and worse. It's that you will always have a vocal group, no matter how big it is, to say, "Oh, please don't have this annoyance." They will frame it differently. They will claim it's a big problem, and you know, changing it will just actually make everything so much better. Which is bullshit, because like, so many times we know in the history of video gaming that an annoyance was actually pretty fucking useful for the game. Like, yeah. I said, for example, that you need to stand still in Resident Evil to actually that you actually need to stand still to shoot. Yeah, that's an annoyance. It never had never had an impact on the game. Let me just be clear here. Resident Evil 4 is not even a hard game. It has an amazing combat system, actually. It just was like, oh hey, now you have to decide. Do you want to run or do you want to fight? It was the decision button. I just repaired the shit out of this vehicle. It's a big one. Or you know, currently we also have this thing. Oh, should Battlefield 6 limit weapons again, or should it have them open? The answer is limit them. Everyone, and I know this will probably make some people angry because they're like, don't generalize this. I will, because in the at the very end, having locked weapons is better in so many aspects of design. Period. However, people dislike that. There will always be people that dislike it because, again, some people just want to play with their favorite gun. They completely ignore the fact that, you know, if you're allowed to just sit with a sniper on a hill and have always ammunition on you, that is bullshit. You can make super classes. The point was to have certain strengths on classes and certain downsides. And yes, it will inconvenience some people. Yes, it will annoy some people. But when you're a designer, you need to really check you need to check that sometimes annoyances of people, if you solve them, they are detrimental to the game. Another good example, dungeon queues. Oh yeah, because back in the day, you know, if you wanted to do dungeons in World of Warcraft, EverQuest, etc., you had to actually talk to people. Period. Either you had a group or no dungeon for you. Meaning dungeon content was just something that especially raids, was just a thing that only a very handful of people actually experienced. And the irony about that is, this is why people actually started, well, being interested in dungeons, because dungeons were a mythical thing. That's what the people in the end game do, you know, the really good ones, the pros. And yeah, fair point. And I get the idea that you want to also experience that. But like, that was not the point on how dungeons were designed. It wasn't. If you then look at what dungeon queues did, and like they had a long knockoff effect. Yeah, and first they basically made it. Why are you? Oh my god! The driver just jumped out of the vehicle. You know, sorry that I just got interrupted, but this was basically the equivalent of, well, fuck you. Play alone now.
Well, now you can learn to fly.
Where did you learn to fly? Look, the flailing toddler of aerodynamics is back. Well, emerge on scene. I am just no. Dodging missiles by just being ass. Okay. When did the fucker just jump out? There wasn't even a problem.
Didn't want to anymore.
What?
They didn't want to anymore.
I guess.
But back to the dungeons.
Okay, but yeah. So dungeon queues. Things that had a knockoff effect. First of all, people didn't interact with each other anymore. That is, here's the thing, I get it. Sometimes you just don't want to deal with people. People suck. They're just annoying, you know? But crucially, I will say, people, needing to actually interact with each other meant that you just had a way healthier community, because you really started to have this whole point of you need to be nice in some form. That's just big.
Only this group of assholes.
What?
Or a group of assholes that works as well.
Yeah. But like most of the time, you wanted to do dungeons, you had to basically go in and be like, hey, I want to do that. And also, when people were like, oh, do you have like, what can you do? And they're like, oh, well, I'm a tank. Then everyone was like, okay, everyone, you are going to be nice to that tank because we need one, especially when they were good. That was just a different thing, you know? But like, then you had the other fun part of that dungeons just became simple as shit. Like, keep in mind, the point of instantiated dungeons, if you like them or not, and I do think a game should have open dungeons and maybe some instantiate, because the upside of an instantiated dungeon is they're a test of mechanics and cooperation. And people always had the thing that sorry, that was just a bit hectic here. But a big thing was that when you were playing in groups that had to actually work together, you ended up with the simple fact that these groups could, like, they were talking. They already were communicating, so you could actually make more complex and more intricate dungeons. That's genuinely really cool.
And then World of Warcraft specifically had the problem that they allowed mods.
You know what? That is definitely
Good
their own
intention,
thing.
but
Very good intention,
very good
absolutely.
intentions, but it led to basically an arms race.
Yeah, but that's a kind of a different topic in that regard. But
It's adjacent.
it's adjacent. But yeah, what basically happened is all the dungeons became more simplistic because what suddenly happened was, hey, you, need to make a dungeon that is clearable by a group of monkeys that don't communicate, that will probably hate each other, and it's still, that's just hard to actually make a good one that's fun. And even then, holy shit, you find the dumbest idiots that are just pretentious fucks, and they need to get bailed out on the second day of Christmas by someone who's just like, yeah, I can join you. Let me just quickly put up my laptop while I'm at my parents. Like, absolute hero.
Yeah. I mean, a person who was angry at us probably knew what they were doing, but they expect us to know things we didn't know.
Oh, that's so funny. The dungeon was very simple. He could have just told us, but instead they went into a fucking rage because we're like, we don't know how it works. Because to a degree, yeah, if you have a dungeon that suddenly wants you to know a little bit more, it becomes fucking poison for online play, which then in turn has the other fun knockoff of you want to make them even simpler because you can't have that. And then, the fun dungeons are the optional ones that no one really does, so they're even less populated. It's just, you are genuinely just losing out over time, and that's, well, not good. Period. It's just not good. Well, so, yeah. That's just my take on, you need to know what kind of friction, and you need to know what kind of annoyance, because friction is annoyances. But people want annoyances. Like, for example, we're currently streaming through Outward. You can watch that on, us do that on Wednesday. Great, fun game. But it has some things like, it's not a full survival game, but you need to drink, you need to eat, and so you have, hunger, you have thirst. You also have some stuff like, your maximum health decreases when you get hit, but temporary decreases the maximum health, until you rest. or you know, the more you run and do stuff, your maximum stamina goes down. So it's just like, no, you need to go and do some resting in between things. It's not the hardest game, and it's not even the. But people play much more restrictive versions of those games, and okay, I could even say I don't get some of these because I would literally sit in front of some of them and be like, this is just really annoying. But people don't want their games to be handed on the plate. It's a similar thing with you know, people saying, hey, Ubisoft games have become way too formulated and stale, which fair enough to a degree. Like, Ubisoft games are basically like, you can easily unfold the whole map, uncover it. It shows you everything there is. Playing them is pretty simplistic, and there's always a fast travel. There's everything, and again, the moment you have fast travel in your game, and the moment you have just markers where your shit is, you actually do not need to give that much of a shit for orientation in your game itself. You know, because that's why I will tell people, play the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind for once, because in Morrowind, when people want stuff from you, they tell you, wait, how you get there. And if you don't listen, if you don't watch out, if you don't do any of that, well, good luck. Read the inscription again. But it's usually it's like, hey, you just go down, you know, you go south out of the village until you meet, until you go to come to the next path, and then there's usually a sign, and then you just follow it until there's a weird tree, and then you go left. And that's legitimately how one of the descriptions is. And if you actually follow it, you're like, oh yeah, I found it. You find, you know, details to orient yourself. Like, people are always like, oh, a landmark. And then it's usually like, landmarks in modern video games usually evolve to big building or big mountain. And yes, you always had a big building or a big mountain. Because, I mean, let's go back to Morrowind. There was a big mountain, because in Vvardenfell, it's a volcano. There's a whole volcano in the middle of the island. But here's the thing. How was this used? See, if you compare this to later Elder Scrolls, and I would still say Elder Scrolls has, compared to a bunch of other games, still better world design. I know. Heresy. How can I praise Skyrim for stuff? But like, as much as I can say, certain parts of Bethesda's design eroded over the years, and especially when Skyrim came out to like an unapologetic degree. Like, you can't tell me that, you know, when Skyrim came out and they had all the money and experience from Oblivion, that they just did Oblivion 2.0 instead of, you know, bringing back more stuff from Morrowind. No, that's bullshit. But, you know, you can't really, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim were all still really well-designed worlds. I generally still like Fallout 4. I don't know Starfield because I haven't touched Starfield, but from what I know about Starfield, no one likes Starfield, so that's that. But apparently the cities are good, so yeah. Bethesda has, from what I know, a very consistent developer base, so certain stuff will just be handed down. But there is an interesting shift, okay? See, Morrowind and Skyrim had different limitations in terms of how far can you see in the world. Especially when you play Skyrim on a PC, and okay, if you play Morrowind on a PC nowadays, it's you can see everything. period. That's not the problem. The point is, Skyrim was inherently designed with a longer view distance, while Morrowind wasn't. Makes sense. So, the way Morrowind put their landmarks and points of interest was very, very different in the way Skyrim did it. Because Morrowind was, you had only the immediate things around you. So the things you had were signposts, paths, bridges, weird looking trees. It was everything in the immediate surroundings. So this was like you walk up a path and you maybe see like a weird door in the mountainside and you're like, okay, what is that? And you like, oh, it's an old Dwemer ruin. Fair enough, that's there. So, you know, there's a fair bit of things going on there, but a crucial thing is that the big landmarks in Morrowind, you know, especially the mountain, was mainly there so you know where you were looking. I mean, that is kind of crucial to think about. See, because if you saw the volcano in Morrowind, if you play it, that's north. In a game that does, you know, because, you know, you can't really have like a good orientation in the sun, but you always know the mountain is north. You know, except when you know you're in a different region and sometimes it's south, but for the beginning of the game, this is your orientation point without needing to look at the compass. That's clever, right? Meanwhile, if you look at Skyrim, yes, to a degree you could still use the main mountain as an orientation point, but it's not built around that. You're not, you know, you don't need a constant reminder of this is north, because also the mountain is in the center. It's more there often, hey, look, you're stepping outside and you look around and you're like, oh, there's a big mountain and you can climb that. Which, yes, that's kind of cool that we can do that. But it's not the gameplay, you know, focused thing of, okay, I know where I need to go for my current quest. That is the key difference to both of these games. In one game, it is an, hey look, it's the big piece in the center that looks cool. And in the other game, it's, that's north. And, you know, similarly, if you look at, you know, the smaller stuff and the smaller designs, it's like in Morrowind, it's, as I said, you go somewhere and it's a very human level of seeing the world. When you stumble upon, like, basically all the points of interest are laid out near paths where you will see them to your left or right if you just look around a bit. And that's neat. That's just very useful, very handy design that makes it just even, oh, you just stumbled upon something. Meanwhile, in Skyrim, a bunch of stuff is actually off the beaten path. Now, there are a few situations where, and I will concede to that, there are a few situations where you, there are a few situations in Skyrim where you actually will look up something and like, oh, hey, wait, that's an interesting dungeon. But the dungeons are off to the side. The most of the times, and okay, I kind of just pull this trick once, and, you know, you come out of the first dungeon, you know, after the tutorial dungeon, you go down the mountainside and you're like, there's a big mountain there. There's this valley. There is this, and oh, up on the other side of this valley, there's some sort of ruin on the mountain. They never do that again. This is the best placement of a dungeon And they never, ever frame any other dungeon like that. And it is simply because people don't walk. People take carriages, people fast travel. There is no reason for people to orient themselves on, points of interest like that on the map. So they just become, oh, hey, here's something interesting. When, if you play the intro to Skyrim like it was intentioned, aka as in, you just walk down to that village, and this is kind of the one moment where you really will do that ever. Then the game actually is just like, here's a gigantic world, and you can spot so much. And those are the moments where you realize these people know exactly what they're doing, but they're used for the equivalent of a scripted scene. Why? But again, they don't need to anymore, because there is no need for anyone to actually be like, well, there's this big thing in the mountain area. I know exactly where I need to go now. That's just irrelevant. So yeah, you always need to know what kind of friction you really want to get out of your game, because some stuff is bad and some stuff is annoying, but some stuff is good because it has knockoff effects to things in terms of design that people like. Because again, people, for example, want to experience your world, but the moment you take away the reason to interact with that world or actually look at the world, they stop doing it. And also, this is why, a lot of those worlds feel lifeless. Like, here's the thing. We're also kind of playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now. It's a great game in a lot of ways. The world feels flat. It has good, it has areas where you're like, okay, I see what you're doing here. And I do think there are areas where it's definitely better designed, and also just has some interesting, how it visually loops around and what it has in terms of storytelling. But overall, I do not have a feeling of I need to learn where things are in the world. Things just are in the world because, there was space to put them there. If you get what I mean. Meanwhile, playing Outward again, and I will keep bringing this game up, I know the Enmerak Forest. I still knew it since the last time I played it, because it's the central area that you just have to traverse. Like, you want to get to Levant? Well, you have to go to Enmerak Forest. Oh, you want to get from Levant or anywhere else back to, for example, into the swamp again? Well, Enmerak Forest. And guess what? I know that place, because it can be, because it actually has a canopy, so it gets harder to orientate yourself, except when you know the specific signs where to look for it. I still know this game. And that's great, That's how a game should be designed. The big design talk, yay. Da 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 da. that be that. But yeah, I guess I have some more things to... Oh, I pressed 4, not 5. Oops. I wanted to repair this. The repair tool was on 5. The RPG was on 4. Oh god, no. But yeah, no it isn't. Yeah, we're gonna have a UI next time. That's hopefully going to be less of a problem than what we had right now. Oh, I don't think you have seen it, right?
Hmm?
I can show you later what I built today.
Yeah, you can do that. I still need to wake up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, if this was Call of Duty 2, they would have just shot.
Well, probably not because they're bad players. Because you two they would be good players, so yes.
You aren't really a good player if you use a rocket launcher there. But if you get overwhelmed, just shoot a floor in front of you. You will hit something while you die.
Yeah. Panzer. Yeah, by the way, I know why it's called tanking English, because the British were like, we can't give away what it is, so we just hide it under the terminology a tank, which is like, I guess. Panzer is the better word. I'm sorry. Hey, what did you shoot back? It's illegal. So, you know what? After this one, we will end and we have some nice pizza. Oh.
the Americans that will not abandon their post so easily.
Well, that was nice. And we could still talk about stuff, but hey, another thing we know for next time. We want a reverse button. We do not want so
I
it's just
will show you Contra first because you forgot how it works.
yeah, no, I know. I have the Contra collection. We can play it. So, yes. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. And see you all around probably on Wednesday when we play, as said, Outward. That's gonna be a fun game. And have a good night. Have a good week ahead of you. Bye.